Maybe you should pull the fucking trigger.
Pull the trigger. Ain't nobody gonna do for you.
Hey everybody, it's cgrassgreen, here with a new video. Today, we're going to be discussing antinatalism, specifically from my perspective as a new antinatalist. I also want to dispel some of the myths, misconceptions, and downright dumb shit some people associate with antinatalism. So, for a little background, I've only really officially been an antinatalist for about a month, and I have a real important person to thank for that. She knows who she is. But for the true beginnings of my journey, we have to go back a lot further, all the way back to my childhood, because a lot like a comic book villain, it all started when I was a kid. To avoid this turning into a downright therapy session with you sarcastically mumbling "same time next week" at your screen, I'll try to keep it to a summary. One of my parents was extremely emotionally abusive and a highly manipulative and neglectful narcissistic person. My other parent did nothing to stop this and oftentimes encouraged it, being downright complicit in my mind. In the end, physically, I got nothing more than a slap on the wrist, but psychologically, I was broken to my core. I learned this the hard way the first time I ever got into a relationship where I fell in love. It's in this relationship that I realized that my view of love was so tainted and perception of what it meant to be loved was so warped that I could trust almost nothing I had learned from my parents about building emotional bonds. All I wanted to do was love her, and yet the only way I knew how was filled with abandonment issues and manipulation techniques that I had been programmed to believe meant love. I broke her heart and pushed her away. I was in so much pain and I cried my eyes out, and I didn't fully heal for 3 years. But it wasn't just the relationship that took me 3 years to fully recover from. It was trying to undo the damage that had been done to me as a kid. It was unlearning all the tendencies I had been imprinted with, and it was relearning what love really looked like. It was after this that I was able to recover from all of it and do my best to correct what I had been imprinted with, that I came to the realization that I never wanted to have children. The exact thought in my mind was, I was so badly broken by my own parents, if there's even a 1% chance of me passing on these tendencies, behaviors, and anxieties, how could it possibly be moral for me to do so? But antinatalism isn't just about not wanting children. In fact, some antinatalists really wish they could have children of their own. Antinatalism is the understanding that there is inherent harm in bringing forth life, specifically sentient life. For me, the realization for the serious potential for harm to new life occurred when I realized what damage had been done to me, despite me never having asked to exist. At this point, I was already primed and ready to fully accept antinatalism, only I had no idea the philosophy even existed. All it took was someone in my life to introduce me to it, and I was on my way down the final section of the rabbit hole. Although there are, of course, inherent biases and limits to human logic, I like to think I maintain as high level of logic and thinking as my monkey brain will allow. When I was first introduced to the philosophy of antinatalism, I recoiled. Something about it just didn't sit right with me, but I soon noticed it was a highly emotional response. When I realized I could come up with no real logical counter-argument to refute the core tenets of antinatalism, I began to accept it logically, even if my emotions were going to take a bit longer to make the transition. And that pause is at the core of accepting any difficult logical truth, a respite to allow your humanity to catch up to your consciousness. So what are some of the dumb things I've heard about antinatalism? You're just depressed and suicidal. Now, although I've certainly suffered from depression at various points in my life, sometimes quite serious, I am not currently depressed and certainly not suicidal. My antinatalist views do not stem from my personal experiences with suffering alone, but are concerned with the suffering of others who suffer in ways far more unimaginable than the inconveniences in my own life. You just want others to die. Again, that couldn't be further from the truth. I may strongly believe that bringing someone into existence is immoral, but once people are here, I want them to experience as little suffering as possible. Dying, even in the most painless way possible, is still immense suffering, simply on the basis of losing the ability to be conscious, experience life, and the fear of no longer existing. You don't think life is worth living. Yet again, here I am. I'm already here. So while I may wish people were never born, I'm already here. and because I'm alive, conscious, and aware, I don't want to die. I can say I quite enjoy my life, and even think that I can do great things with it, have a great impact on others, and glean from it meaning and enjoyment. But my interpretation and experience of living my own life doesn't change the reality of the moral issue with bringing forth new sentient life, and certainly doesn't negate the presence of immense suffering in the world. And even in an individual like myself that interprets life as positive, there is no doubt that my suffering would not exist had I not been born. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief video on my journey to becoming an antinatalist.